Hey Javier, I've been holding off to buy a home for the past 6 months or so. I have my down payment and emergency fund set up and I can comfortably afford even with the high interest rate. But there's just one thing holding me back and I'm not sure what it is. I have been working with my agent for a while now, and whenever I check in on them to just get an idea of market conditions, they're always telling me it's a great time to buy. I like my agent and I trust them, but how can I know to believe them? What factors should I be looking out for, and do you think it's a good time to buy in my area? Here are attached a few houses so you can get an idea. It's not lack of preparation that has you concerned. You're financially prepared with your funds and your savings and everything ready, set. You are budget oriented, meaning you have a good idea of what your budget looks like. So even with the high rates, you can afford where you live, which is great. That means if you were to buy now, you're only going to be put in a better position when rates drop. You can even lower your payment even lower, right? So it just seems like it's a slam dunk. So what's holding you back, in my opinion, there's something about the specific market that you're looking in that you just it doesn't sit well with you. And that's totally understandable, because here's the thing, guys. Just because you can buy a house doesn't mean that you should buy a house, right? So for many people, maybe like this person, if the market conditions aren't correct for you and in your taste, then there's nothing wrong with renting. Even if you're paying about the same or if not a little more for renting, you're not taking a huge financial risk investing in a house by renting a home. But let's find out what market conditions are the most concerning, because there's something about your area that's just not clicking. So I can't look up your specific area because you're not in my area. I don't have access to MLS, and I tried reaching out to a few agents that have access to your MLS and I couldn't find one I really like. So I'm actually going to show you how to do it with my MLS. And while I'm doing it, I'm going to be presenting questions that can be asked to any agent anywhere in the country. So if you need data, they can probably provide it. So I picked out a random neighborhood here in my local area. And the house we're going to be focusing on is this one right here. It just came on the market. It's $374,500, and it's the most cheapest house in that area. Now, most agents will be able to pull up this data and tell you, yeah, it's the cheapest house in the area, and you'll be like, whoop-de-doo. But you have to understand where this price lies with the general trends of the area. So the first question or the first data set I'm looking for when I'm trying to get a good idea of the neighborhood, or, just like this person, and kind of like figure out what's not jiving well, is let's look up the price trends of the average price for that specific zip code. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this zip code, and I'm going to use my local market data analyzer, which most realtors should have access to something like this. If they don't, then they need to find it and get on page, because this is like unacceptable. You shouldn't just be a door opener. You should have a very good sense of your market, and you should have access to data like this if you don't. All right, here it is. So 85392 Avondale. Okay, great. This is a good idea of where we are. So I'm going to find out where the average sales price is going. So just like most areas, most markets, most zip codes, most cities, it's following a very familiar trend. Spike, the top of the market, middle of 2022, in this case May, drop to about February or March, and then an increase. Now, what's differentiating, when you try to add words that you don't understand to make you sound smarter, and it comes off the opposite effect and you sound dumber. I just did that. So what's different about this is a lot of markets are going down here. A lot of markets are going up here. And we can determine here with this specific area, it seems like it's been on an upward trend since that drop, which is unusual because, like I said, most cities or most areas, they're either flatlining here or they're dropping even further. So it looks like things are favorable for this specific zip code. And I would probably have a little more confidence, right? You're trying to establish what is your confidence. Like I have people buying cash right now, but they're not buying cash blindly. They're doing the research just like this. I'm pulling the data and I'm saying, okay, this market is trending upward, trending downward. So having this, getting a better idea is going to really help you figure out, okay, what's happening here. Once I figure this out, I figure out the median price. So you ask your agent, can you give me an idea of the zip code's median price for right now? So the reason why, right, is because anything that's charting below the median price of your area is probably doing better than anything above that. Why? Well, unfortunately, there's still a lot of investors buying a property right now. There's like only 3 types of buyers right now in this market. There's really financially healthy buyers, meaning that they're prepared, they have plenty of money in the bank, their credit's solid, etc. There's investors, and then there's people that are just in a position where they have to buy. Like they're in a position where they don't have any other choice. They're not going to rent. They're sick of renting. There's like an urgent sense for them to buy, right? The investor group makes up, I think last I checked, 27 to 29% of total sales. So those major purchases are happening below the median price. So anything above the median price is usually not faring as well. There's bigger price drops because there's less people buying in that range. So most people are buying below that. Now, if your agent doesn't have access to a software like this, their MLS might provide it for them, or they might have to just get an Excel sheet and manually look up information. As a matter of fact, doing it manually might even be better because they can look and tag all the solds in their specific neighborhood, not just the zip code, and really figure that out. Right now, agents have to work harder for their funds. It's just the way it is. So I feel like asking an agent to do this isn't that crazy, and they should be more than open to do it. So we can see here the median price overall is maxed out at around 467.5. Dropped down in March about 385, and currently it's about 420. So as long as we're buying under 420, then that's going to be more. There's going to be more competition in this specific zip code. And now here, this is all the houses for sale in this specific neighborhood. And just so you can see, I literally just focused on Crystal Gardens here, which is once again a random neighborhood I just picked. And this is the only house that's charting under 420. Everything else, oh, actually there's one that's under 400. Everything else is above 420. And it's not a coincidence that everything above 420 has a higher days on market. Okay. So now we just have a general better sense of this zip code. We have a better idea of what the median price is. We have an idea of what the average sales price is. It trending upward, downward, and you may already be out of the game here. If you're seeing there's a massive downward trend of prices in that area, then you're like, okay, I don't feel comfortable doing it. Or you might be comfortable, but you're like, hey, I'm only comfortable buying if I'm buying well aggressively under list price. Like you just have a better idea of what's going on, and you're not going in there blindly, which I believe is what's causing you to just kind of hold back. Of course, your agent saying that it's the perfect time to buy might be a thing, but we'll leave that up to you to decide. What I also like to do is I just don't look at the active. So one thing to ask your agent is, can you send me not only the actives, but can you send me the pendings? Can you send me the under contracts? Can you send me the closed in the last 30 days? Because looking at the actives is not going to give you a good indication of what's going on. So we're going to go and we're going to look up under contract and pending. And once again, it's shocking how many people don't look this up when they're making offers. Like, you want to know what's going on. So there's currently 6 for sale. And if I look at what's under contract and pending, I see that there's 4. So there's less houses selling than there actually are available. And I can see here, there's nothing really trending near that price range of the house that we were looking at. So there are a few surprisingly above 420. But the thing about pending houses is we can't really see what they're selling for, but it's good to know. And of course, now we check the 30-day mark of what's been selling in the last 31 days in this specific neighborhood. And we can see there has been no sales in the last 30 days, which is concerning. That means there's houses for sale, but there's nothing actually selling. What's going on with that? Let's actually go back 60 days and see if we can find anything. There's been one house. There's only been one house that's sold in the last 60 days. And this one house that did sell, it looks like it sold within 16 days. It was listed at 475 originally, and it sold for 460. So it sold for $14,000 under list price. So it could mean two things. It can mean that, hey, houses there are very valuable and high demand because they barely ever go on the market. And I know the specific area has a lake in there, so maybe that's why. But if that was the case, then this one would have sold for a lot more, right? So by looking at the data and seeing what it sold for, well, it actually sold for cheaper. Probably gives us a good idea that, hey, we can most likely spend a lot less as well if we're planning on making an offer. So if your agent's telling you, hey, make an above list price offer, then it's like, whoa. That's not what the data tells me. So looking at this local data is going to put you in a much better headspace of understanding what's going on. People love watching these like housing market videos on YouTube that just talk about like a Redfin article or a Zillow article, and it's talking about national numbers, right? But really, markets are so like, they just vary from street to street. Literally, there can be one neighborhood that has a completely different market than the neighborhood just right next to it. There's a lot of factors affecting it. So it's really important that you get knowledgeable about the specific area before moving forward with anything. So already I can tell here, this area, I mean, it doesn't seem to be that high in demand. There seems to be more houses selling than there is for sale. And this tells me that anything that's for sale right now, it's an opportunity to get a lot cheaper. So if you're actually looking to buy, we're going to be making aggressive offers on these houses. And not only that, but anyone that's selling their house right now, they're selling for a reason, because most sellers right now, they're not selling. They have a low interest rate and they're holding for dear life. They're not going to let their house go. They only would be selling right now if they have a very specific reason. Why would someone sell right now and get rid of the low rate to go get a 7% interest rate, right? Really take advantage of that, really hit them hard. And now you might say, Javier, well, isn't every area like this? You would be surprised. There's a lot of areas that are still in high demand. I don't know why, but there's still a lot of areas that are selling quick. But not only that, but like there might be, like, for example, condos, like in areas where their houses are really, really expensive now, there's a huge spike of condo sales. Like there's condos continuing to rise in price and sell for a lot more. So it's just a lot of factors. Like there's so many things to look at, so many things to consider. And in your case, to be honest with you, I think you can give your agent one more chance, I suppose, but you now more than ever, you want to be working with someone who's data oriented. Like you don't want someone who's going to be like, it feels like the right time to buy, you should buy. No, someone needs to be very knowledgeable about the data, and they need to be pulling stuff up for you without you asking, quite frankly. But I digress. Maybe let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Go back, approach the conversations differently, ask more productive questions, and really get a good sense of that specific neighborhood. And you might determine, you know what, this neighborhood doesn't really make sense for me until I see either prices drop even further or I see interest rates drop to the point where it actually makes sense. Well, in your case, you can afford your monthly payment. So for you, you're probably waiting for prices to drop. Now, someone else might say like, well, I want to buy in this area, whatever it takes, but the monthly payment just doesn't work for me. That person might be waiting for rates to drop with a combination of a little prices. So I recently had someone send me another question where they're like, hey, I bought this house a year ago for $420. Now it's worth $380. What do I do? Go watch that if you're interested in seeing my take on that. Thank you guys for watching. And if you have any questions, email me at contact@javiervidana.com. Thank you.